Hello and welcome into Anti-Stall Racing. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be, and welcome to Hockenheimring. It's round 5 for Anti-Stall Racing. My name is Anthony Mellum. I'm joined today by Simon Davison with Paulo Rad Lopez, rocking the production for us as always, keeping things gorgeous in Germany for a fun track, Simon. But this track, while fun, while gorgeous, can be incredibly chaotic.
Yes, Anthony. Hello, it's me, your crew chief, and this track is very terrifying. There's a lot of long straights, there's a lot of dive opportunities, and there are lots of points where if you're not perfect on your brakes, that car is just going to go around on you and you are going to feel like a Muppet. Got 60 minutes of a race coming up, but first we have qualifying to get through, and currently we've got the GT3s going on track for you, so yeah, see how we get on here.
Yeah, don't want to be a Muppet today. Definitely want to make that the key to avoidance. Any Muppet braking, and there certainly will be trouble. But I'm excited. This isn't the first time ASR has been on to Hockenheimring, but this is certainly guaranteed to be an exciting one. It's been a great season so far, coming off the back of an incredible season previous. So just non-stop action here. And you mentioned braking. Aside from braking, and I feel like the class racing, the multi-class action, the packs on Hockenheim tend to be really chaotic. What's some of the keys to maybe avoiding that, especially considering here in ASR? A lot of times as the GTPs make their way through, we tend to see, we'll say a couple accidents. We'll be generous.
Honestly, if you're a GT3 trying to live, I think the most important thing is knowing when to fight. If you're trying to stall for position for like going 2 or 3 wide through some of these parts, there's going to be a GTP that's just going to get impatient with you and just put the car somewhere where they have control of it. You might not be ready for it, and that is when contact happens, and that's when people start going around. So just knowing when to pick your battles is important.
Will be indeed. Yeah, I was going to ask you to kind of go further, because I feel like one thing too is, while 60 minutes, certainly not your biggest endurance, trying to survive in 60 minutes is way easier said than done.
Surviving with 60 is relatively straightforward, especially considering we've got 2 pit stops scheduled for this race with the reduced fuel tanks. As race control is confused as to whether car 127 should go on track or not. But yes, yeah, it's most just a case of you're going to get lapped by GT traffic. Once they come through, you've definitely got a long period of time before they come through for their second lapping. Just make sure you're ready for it, make sure you're ready to pounce. You have these massive straights, you have a lot of tow to work with, as you can see. We're getting a bit of tow on board here. And just make sure you've got your foot constantly down, ready to strike when the time is right. And as long as you keep it on track, it should be okay in the long term. These aren't necessarily dirty drivers you're driving with. They'll give you space if you get it there, but you do need to be able to get it there in the first place.
Especially in the early goings, it tends to be the later you get, and understandably so, and hey, it's the reason it gets later, the crazier things get, because it's time to really jock for those extra positions and such, and that's what we'll have to look out for today. But Simon, I am very curious for you to take us through an onboard lap here soon, because one thing I want to know is you've gone really particular with the braking, handling the gas, and how it's all going to affect as you deal with that pack pulling through. But I'm really curious too, is there any kind of, I don't want to say shortcuts, but is there any small advantages, little things we can look at where people can pick up? Because a lot of times that's something that goes unnoticed, but every track's got its spot. You know, I think of the bus stop on Watkins Glen. Things like that being the area where you can make up a lot of ground when you need it the most.
Honestly, for Hockenheim, I'm looking towards turn 1 and turn 17, the first and last corners of the track. There's a lot of curbing. There's actually part of the track that you can use without getting penalised for it. If you're able to optimise that section, you can carry a lot of speed going in towards turn 2. Granted, that is a hard braking zone. Not too much benefit you can get from it, but there's still a lot of straight where you can gain a lot of extra momentum over your opponents. Obviously, we also have the stadium section, which is that classic technical section of a fast track that you need to be wary of at all times, especially with the bank corner of turn 13. But yeah, just mostly optimize your track limits, get your tyres up to temp as we can see here, and get ready for the full send.
Yeah, the full send will be key. It goes back to the Muppet talk, right? about 5 minutes into qualifying so far. Currently sitting in first is Mergia in that 54 car.
And it looks like he's pulling over. They usually take 2 flying laps, get the fuel tank as low as possible. So the first lap and the out lap are just getting the tyres up to temp. On that second lap, you just go as hard as you can. And at the end of it, you're like, well, these tyres are going to be past their best anyway, so I don't want to take a third necessarily. I'd rather just go to the pit lane, get fresh set, get some more fuel, go again. But yeah, you see Mergia's already put up 0.2 over everybody, so
yeah,
good early start for them.
Yeah, Mergia playing no games so far. Not far behind is Carlos Boza, always one of my favorite racers to watch. I feel like Carlos tends to always be in the midst of chaos, never in any bad spot of it, always just kind of, like you said earlier, surviving, just living to see another day, and it feels like that's one of the things that goes with Carlos Boza, and I'll be interested to see if that happens yet again.
In GT3, it's not necessarily about who's fastest, it's about who can survive the best, and if you're able to put both together, it works out very well for you. Just comes into the hard braking the Spitzka hairpin. Easy for me to say.
Oh yeah, that was a hard one. I guess that goes back to what you're saying with the braking. It's kind of like I'll be really interested in seeing how the GTPs get through this area, because one thing about our drivers in ASR, I've always noticed, they're not afraid to really full send when they got a full send. So in these tighter braking zones, the skillful areas, they tend to, I don't want to say be on top of each other, but
they tend to commit the ancient multi-class ritual of dive bomb.
Yeah, the ancient, long-forgotten art.
Those are the corners where you really need to get through, because you don't want to be stuck behind GT3 as they slowly get up to acceleration, because the motor in the GT3s is powerful, but it's just nothing on these hypercars, right? You need to get through them in the corners so you're not stuck behind them on exit. So yeah, it's just a case of making sure you enforce the fact that you're going through here, and hopefully they notice and don't turn it on you.
Hopefully. It's always the hopefully, right? That's sort of the big thing. You see Carlos Boza grab a purple sector in that previous run, which puts Boza ahead of Mergia there, which, considering we are singing the praises of Mergia's lap, interesting to see Boza jump ahead. It goes along with what we're saying. Somebody to watch, for sure.
Oh, yeah. This is the fun thing about qualifying here as well in this series, that you'll just have this run of times, and then someone will just put up a time that just 0.2 faster than the leader out of nowhere, especially in these dying moments of qualifying. You have to be it's 14 minutes where you're at the edge of your seat thinking, is he safe? Is he going to get pit by Alex Ott, potentially? Adam Watson? Other fast drivers? There's a lot of people here that can put up these numbers, they just actually need to get the lap together, which in session, not necessarily easy to do, especially if there's a minor change in temperatures can throw off the balance of the car a lot, comparatively. And traffic as well could play a huge difference. You could see the massive backstretch through Turn 5 Parabolica. You can see the stretches through last corner, through Turn 1 into Turn 2. There is so much time you can gain just by having someone in front of you, breaking that air, giving you the tow. And these cars aren't affected too much by that. Yeah, they are a little bit, but I think the gain that you get just by having someone to pull you forward is a lot greater.
Certainly checks out.
As you see, I can't remember which car this is. We were just watching them from afar, but you can see 007, I believe.
Yeah, but 007.
Yes. Yeah, and Mikel Mar. They didn't have anyone in front of them. They're going to lose out a lot of time here, just because, as much as they might be putting a good lap together, they're just going to struggle because they don't have anyone pulling the speed together. And you can see yellow on the sector timing there. It's going to come through. It might be an improvement for him still. He's 1.1 seconds off the leader currently, but it's not going to get too close, I don't think. Yeah, we've got about 4.5 minutes left for the GT3s to qualify, so if they're going to get some laps in, now's the time to do it. And I do believe, that might have actually been on track for Keldamar. Excuse me, but I don't believe it was an improvement.
Hey, same thing as I say same thing, but you're going to do better than me. I always say, forgive any pronunciation for me. I'm just American-brained. I'm an idiot. I'll do my absolute best. I mean no harm, but...
I said it last time as well, we're two white English-speaking men, like, foreign languages, names are going to go poorly for us.
I'm just afraid to cast a spell on accident.
Oh, no.
Just in my fumbling of the names, especially because they're all they're great names, and whenever I hear Paolo say them, I'm always like, oh, wow. I'm like, oh, Paolo did it great. That sounds fantastic. That could be a writer, modern day Shakespeare. Then I say it and it sounds like I'm speaking Garbleduke.
That's it. It's a well-known language.
I want to add something about that. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Just balls it, you know?
Yep, just commit to the stupidity. Anyway, Philippus comes through, does not improve 2 seconds, still 4.6 seconds off on that lap. Scott, I believe that was an outlap, that timing was not there. Omnis is on yellows as well, 3 minutes on that lap, that's an outlap. Boza, I think, got held up. Lemure also held up. Arshad has a purple going in here, but given that lap time currently, I don't think he's going to get an improvement going. And the only one potentially, Alex Ott, is in the middle of the turn 15 now, coming through. It's all yellows. There's probably not going to be improvement here, but there's at least a chance. And I believe that chance has now passed.
Feels like it's a common theme that we're seeing is a lot of people coming up just short of that ideal margin. It seems like it's been a tough area to find the marginal improvements even.
On a qualifying lap, you do need to be perfect, and Hockenheimring, it's like a medium-sized track, but there's only so much you can improve on when a lot of the track is just straight line and slightly wonky straight line. As you see the 2-minute warning for the checkered here. Like, you need to make sure you get as much as you can out of every single one of these corners, and given the way these curbs can sometimes unsettle the car, it can be very costly if you go slightly wrong.
Takes me back a few races ago. I was with Brad and we were discussing the way that we saw anything that wasn't a GTP, essentially the way that a lot of people were going into corners was a little bit too aggressive. It was causing a lot of cars to kind of slide out from underneath them, which was obviously causing a lot of chaos and havoc. But what was almost more interesting to see was the way some of the more technically skilled drivers were coming out of corners, and the advantage it was giving them just from inherently not having those same little mistakes on the way in, which ruined their come up out of a turn.
And especially on a track like Hockenheim, like, you might also send the car in deeper, sure, but again, massive straight out of 17, massive straight out of 1, massive straight out of 4, 6, 10. Like, you need to be set up for corner exit. You need to have control of the car going into the corner so you can get your foot down sooner. Just lob the car as fast as you can down these straights, because that's the only way you're going to make time. And speaking of making time, Amy Grime, currently on a double green sector, 140. I don't know if that's going to be an improvement for them, but that's certainly at least look promising briefly. Emergio is on double greens as well. That is exciting. Yes.
Yeah, back in first over Baza. That's pretty significant.
Comes through, like I said, maintain control of the car, take all the track limit you can, take a bit of that sausage curve as well. It's all in bounds. Onto the green as well, comes through. 39 is not going to be an improvement as the checkered flag flies.
Just a bit short improvement, but still a strong battle there between first and second that we got to see throughout this first bit of qualifying as we get onto the checkered of it. I gotta say, we learned a lot, but what stuck out to me was the front of the field has some confidence and has some speed, and oddly so, though, compared to some other tracks that I've watched qualifying, not that large of a spread throughout the field.
Again, like, qualifying pace isn't necessarily indicative of race pace. There's a lot of minute factors, like, do you get a tow? Are you able to put the good lap together? But when you got a tight field, you can usually get a tight field during the race as well, and if you're able to stay with that field, you'll have a tow during the race as well. Even if you are maybe a few tenths slower in actual race pace, that can just get offset. If you're able to stay with the field during the race, you can just cover that and set yourself up for a decent finish overall. Anyway, the remains of the GT3 field will now come into the pit lane and will be set for GTP qualifying.
Oh boy, I'm feeling it in my bones already to watch these GTPs go around and around. It's been a while since I've been on ASR, and I honestly just missed watching these racers pull through. That everyone's so impressive to watch, but the GTP is always exciting. I mean, what's to beat? The looks, the sounds, the speed, and the skill. All enjoyable, but I'll be really keen to hear you take us through some of those early laps, especially having gone through the discussion for the GT3s in how you want to set up your laps, how you want to go through and adjust and work with both tires and your fuel situation on those qualifying laps.
Important thing to note as well, these cars, as good as they are, they don't have ABS. While I trust these drivers to not loop the car immediately, you still have to be very careful in the braking to make sure you get the optimum out of them, and then the optimum back out the other side of the corner as we see the green flag finally flies and the pit lane spews forth 10 more GTPs at once. It's a terrifying prospect to be here in qualifying as well, given all these drivers want a little bit of buffer room to work with as well. As much as I said you wanted the draft, you don't want to be right on someone's rear wing, because that is a good way to just unsell yourself more than anything else. You don't want to be just right in the way of another driver and just have them either occupying your whole rear view mirror or occupying your whole front view. As you see, if you have a GTP there, you can't see the track. It's very hard to focus on your own braking points in that situation.
Tommy Patero is a driver who I feel cursed to commentate every time. Feels like every race I commentate Tommy Patero, it's a story of pure bad luck. It's just every time that I'm in the booth for ASR. So hopefully today that changes for Tommy Patero. Would love to see a strong performance there today. And always an exciting driver who puts up some really strong times, usually battling for that third, fourth area and always looming at a podium spot.
Well, you said bad luck for Tommy Patero, and this is unfortunately going to be the same unless he really likes that clean air. He's got no toe. He's giving it to the entire field behind him. But he will come through the final two corners again, take that sausage curb, take all the curbing, take the green turf on the exit as well, get as much speed out of the car as you can through the line. So we go on board for a flying lap of Hockenheim. Take your pick about 75 meters here, again, on the exit as far as you dare. Don't get the off track, which I believe he unfortunately did, but we'll probably try and keep on pace for this lap anyway. Again, get it checked up for turn 2, take as much of the inside here as you can, switch to the outside, and then you're onto the parabolica as flat out as can be. Keep it tight to the left, tight, 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 and then ready to set up into the hairpin. Don't loop the car. Break about the 125 marker, if there was one. Again, on that exit, make sure the car's stabilised, foot down, set it off into the distance. I appear to be suffering technical difficulties. My end is froze. There we go. Back on board. Flick through turn 7. Checked up for turn 8, but not quite as hard. Get a little bit squirrely on exit there. Not able to apply the power as safely as you might have liked. Might want to take the TC if a click, but so then a quick fling through. You're into the stadium section. You're very much into the gravel there. A little bit of caution required. This bank corner, you don't want to get on too hard. It's going to be on the fronts there because you want to carry speed. You have the banking to work with there, so you can get a lot of steering lock through there, but the car will remain underneath you. And then once again, it's just a case of how much speed can you carry through this section, how much of the track can you utilise to get it there. As Patero, yep, lap invalidated off track.
Yeah, that was a tough.
No, never mind.
Pulls through, ends up rolling into second.
The production agrees.
We definitely watched. Yeah, I was gonna say we definitely watched Tommy go through the Sahara and take a detour through that lap. So, my timing screen is incorrect. It definitely said he was off track, but iRacing disagrees. If you don't get a 1x for it, you're on track. iRacing will cut your lap time, and apparently that lap time was only 0.06 off of Benjamin Cias, who has taken the lead, and that is I'll be honest, there's definitely improvement in that lap. You can see how squirrely he got out of some of those corners, and definitely how much speed lost trying to keep it on the track at points, but
it counts as a lap, and it's definitely a fast one right now, as Hockenheimring just absolutely says that's what you can put up on this track, and 25.19. Wow. That is the kind of lap time you can shoot for on this track.
We're definitely getting into it now. GTPs and their talented drivers showing exactly what this course is possible of. Going back to Benjamin Cease, though, just giving credit where it's due, showing up early at the top of the qualifying standings so far. Former F1 winner for ASR. Should be an exciting driver to watch today. I expect to see a lot from there. Well, Squirrely gets through. Tommy Patero making up for the gravel lap and ending up at top, but not for long as Benjamin Cease takes it right on back with a 1-2-4-8.
So what we've learned here, the second lap is a very good lap for these drivers. That's when I think the tyres are going to start to come in, because it's not necessarily easy to drive the GTPs on cold tyres. Once they get a little bit of temp in, that's when they really start to fly. And right now the track feels like it's got a lot of pace in it right now. So you can absolutely just, if you're able to keep it on track, get that second lap in, get a second lap good, get a little bit of space but a little bit of toe as well, that's exactly when you can get these flying laps that we're putting in right now. And this feels, what is that, up to 4th place in the AM category, 11th overall, so that's 11 hypercars within a second of each other on qualifying right now. Again, not indicative of race pace, excuse me, but if it is, we're in for a bang of a race.
Wouldn't be surprised, especially given just the level of talent that we have here. I feel like we see it week in and week out. It always feels like, even if you start to doubt it for a moment, things get a little bit calm. There's always the moments where you feel like you kind of forget you're watching iRacing and you just all of a sudden feel like you're in a booth overlooking the full track itself.
I think that's the thing with motorsports in general, be it in sim or in real life. Nothing happens for a while, and then everything happens.
Everything happens, yeah.
As we get a nice side-on shot of the number 29 machine, driven by Alvaro Gutierrez. Currently P11 overall right now, looking to get an improvement. Has come through a line. I don't know if that's a bank or an outlap, excuse me. I believe it was based on the cycle, but yeah, I think he's got a car just a little bit in front of him. I don't know what the real effective draft range of the hypercars is, but I feel like that looks a little bit too far in front. So he's going to have to get this lap in on pace alone, which might be a little hard. You can see the field's starting to spread out a bit. Once they all came out of the pits, they all got settled within their own laps. Now they're off cycle with when they actually took the toe and where they are on the pit road. So it's going to be certainly hard if you were relying on that toe to set a good lap, but still a lot of pace in these cars overall, especially if you can optimize the tracks a little bit. So still definitely some time to find for all these drivers, I would say. As Hockenheimring comes through the last few corners. Sebastian Van Den, winner of the the GTP AM group last time out, comes through with a decent time that will put him second in class, 9th overall. Hockenheimring, not really improvement for him. He'll stay 3rd place behind CS and Patero. Yeah, it's starting to look fairly racy out there. That's a very loose-looking car.
Wow, fighting demons on that steering wheel so far.
75. Oh, that's Mathis Wichton. Certainly one of the better drivers in this field, and certainly has a handful of the car right now. I don't know if he's just trying to get temp in these tyres, if he's just trying to cook the rears. But if he's not on a outlap, he's not going to get a good result here, I don't believe. Coming through the line.
Fifth.
So I will say, he's still a very good driver. You could definitely pull a few stunts like that and still get a good lap time down, but there's definitely time left on track, and he's not going to be happy with that, I don't think. You can see just how much he was trying to get counter steering to the wheel, just to try and keep it pointed forward. You do lose time with that. If you're not committing all of your grips and getting the car going in the right direction, you are going to lose time, even it might be not much in the grand scheme of things, but you know it's there, because you're in the car fighting it. Yeah. So yeah, he's going to go out, he's going to be a little bit mad with himself, he's definitely got room to improve on, as Hockenheimring does so and puts it second, just under a 10th behind Benjamin Cease. Important thing to note as well, the balance of power has given and taken away for a lot of these cars, And for the Acura, it's definitely doing a lot of giving. You can see just how many of them there are in this field right now.
Yeah, you take me back to one of the first races of this season where I feel like we were getting a TED Talk from Brad on the Acuras and what they brought to the field. So glad to see things haven't changed in that aspect.
It's just a generally good car. It's just compliant in all the areas you want it. It might not like be the fastest in the straights, but through these corners, it just has the most downforce. It has all the grip you need in basically every cornering situation, and it just absolutely flies because of it. So yeah, basically every driver, I think I saw 2 Cadillacs and 2 Porsches outside, and there is 1 BMW in the field, and it is currently, oh, what is that, 17th overall? Oh, sorry, there is a second one. That second one might have actually been a GT. Oh, no, Anthony could... My timing screen keeps updating too much and I can't read. There is 1 BMW. Your crew chief is losing his mind slowly, my apologies.
Hey, we still have 4 minutes left to go in qualifying. You have time to get it back before the race, or lose your mind more during the race, which, I mean, I'm down for having...
No, I need to get it back so I can lose it again during the race. That's
exactly. See, now you're with it. Benjamin C's continuing to just be impressive around this track.
Benjamin's... Oh, okay. I was going to say he's got a green. It's backed up by a yellow, so not necessarily going to be a fast lap overall, as he is... his little ant on the tracker is towed, so unfortunately not going to be a lap set for him at all. It's really sad one, so you can see the green in Sector 1, and then you see the yellow in Sector 2. It's like, how hard do I need to push in Sector 3 to get this lap set on fast pace? We are getting towards the end of qualifying here, so if you've got anything left in the car, I'd probably take a tow maybe about a minute ago, actually, just to make sure I've got time to do 1 full out lap plus 2 full laps in good conditions. It's a 2-minute warning for the GTP checkered flag, so I wouldn't even have made it. I was going off of the qualifying time and not the actual session time, which is split off just because we have 2 qualifying. Oh! I don't know. That's going to get him up the tower, though. That's the main thing. No, he P9 off track. Never mind. P9 overall, though.
That's tough. That was somebody I feel like we've gone back to multiple times now, is saying there's a lot more to be had there, and I wouldn't expect that to hold out the length of a race, should that hold.
Well, he's definitely one of the drivers that can make it back on track, put it like that, certainly. As last few drivers come through, with the 2-minute warning, I believe these are going to be the last few laps taken overall. CS, I'll tell you, there's the checkered flag and the remainder of the lap you're on if you can make it by the time the session ends, so should be okay for a lot of these drivers. Just got to make sure you get the laps in.
Perfect person to follow, always, as we've talked about. Monty's an incredible driver to watch and has a lot to make up.
See who comes up on the bottom. Gutierrez and doing well, and Wichton. Well, there it is. There's the purple Sector 1. If he's kept it on track, this could be a massive improvement. He comes through the line in 10th. And that's good enough for second. 1:24.8 this official timing. CS has pipped him in that Cadillac by less than a 10th overall, but still bang laps from both of them. A front row start for both of them.
That's... we said it. You couldn't expect it to stay. It was a guaranteed change. It really speaks to the times that Benjamin was putting up as well, being able to have a time good enough to hold on to that top spot, despite Monty's being able to regain in the way that we saw. But I know Monty's a very popular driver as well, so Dutch Racing League will be out there very, very, very happy about what they just witnessed with Monty's turning things around.
I mean, you can see it in the I rating. He's like 5.9k. You don't get that high by being slow. You can tell he's like definitely got his experience in just banging lap after lap after lap, race after race after race, and that is how you get fast. You just get out there and you get some tires on a track and you drive.
You go and you go and you go.
as a fellow with 2 green sectors, comes in through 6, might have enough in there just to get an improvement, but it looks like the lap times that come through might have been invalidated then. Dumal Gutierrez, triple yellows, no chance for them. The 101 machine of Daniel Ronek, currently coming through the bank corner in that final sector. On double yellow, so maybe not too much of a chance of an improvement there as, yep, everyone's stopping. The checkered flag is flying in this session. So it'll just be a case of what should these remaining drivers can put up times. I'm not expecting too much fall. Yep, triple yellows, no improvement there, unfortunately. Avail, there's a chance with 1 green, but I would be surprised. Yeah, 25-6, not good enough for an improvement, unfortunately. This is the 20th place machine of Ricardo Talon coming through the line. Yellow and green, there's a chance for an improvement, certainly, especially from 20th place. But I don't believe he's got enough of a lap together. He will remain there. So yes, he has P1 already. I don't believe he's going to get challenged for that. He's taking all the curb, and I believe as soon as he pulls over there, that's an invalidated lap time off track. As we see there, that's an invalidation for Ron Dumal as well, and he's going to send it off in style.
All right. You know what? I like that. That will
conclude our session. Yep.
It's like diving into the kiddie pool head first, but surviving, and then going to the deep end, and then just, floating.
You know you're going to get a brand new car in about 2 minutes when the session propagates, so, just give the viewers something to watch.
So we've learned a lot here, Simon, and a lot of surprising stuff we've seen. It seemed like a lot of the GTPs were having some issues getting around, having a lot of trouble keeping it on the track. And as you said, qualifying certainly not the end-all be-all of what we look at for the actual race itself, but it still feels like there was a pretty significant margin to look through.
Well, I will say a lot of those cars seemed fairly loose as well on exit, and that is a very terrifying thing to be in a race situation. Just any form of car not handling how you want to in general, but especially on Hockenheim, where you have these big straights. You really need to be on top of your exits. Dumal has been warned for that intentional wreck. Forward of race control, I see what you're putting out. But yeah, you want to be on top of your corners, exits especially, because you need to be nailing the exits. And if you're a car behind a car that gets loose and you are on rails, you have the grip, you want to go forwards, you're going to get checked up by a car not being able to get the power down. You are going to feel frustrated. You are going to get a little bit more irritated towards them, and that's when we see a little bit more of the disrespectful dive bombs, and those are the ones that tend to go squarely.
Have to be something we look out for, and I mentioned it a bit to you when we were still just coming on air, and it's something I'm sure we'll have to touch on, just given the nature of pack racing, multi-classes getting through, but it'll be imperative that while you're so squirrely, if you are the GTPs, you gotta really take those extra precautions to get through safe. As I say it, I mean, enjoy the caster curse, but that's the exact kind of thing that we have to look out for in the race, because if that becomes a common theme, if that becomes something we're seeing, we are in for a very, very hectic 60 minutes.
It's a terrifying prospect for a lot of these GT3s especially. These GTPs get so much closing speed on the straights just because the GT3s, as good as they look and as good as they stand, they just don't have the engines in them compared to the hypercars. The hypercars are going to try and enforce their will through the corners, and if they misjudge the braking or if they misjudge application of the throttle by a little bit, as the GT3 you need to be the one taking reaction to get out of their way, because the GTP is going to be mostly focused on how do I keep this car pointed forwards. It's a race of survival. It's every stereotype about multi-class racing I can think of thrown out in one small microcosm, but it's just, you need the car pointed forwards, you need to be the one to make sure you get it there. You need to make sure you're taking your battles at sensible times, making sure you're letting the GTPs through at optimal moments, as we see 2 of them going through 2 GT3s there. It's just, make sure you have a car at the end, because that's how you're going to get a good finish in this race.
It's a pretty simple key to write down. Make sure your car is still driving at the end. It's a pretty easy checkbox to fill off, at least on paper.
It's a classic. It is true of every single racing series known to mankind. But it is so important in multi-class, especially in the shorter format, right? Like most multi-class races, they'll take place over a couple of hours. Here you have 1 hour, and you need to make 2 pit stops. You need to make hay whenever you can find it if you're racing for position. So you just need to make sure when you're not racing for position, when you're just in these little periods where you just need to put out lap times, you aren't costing yourself anything by losing carbon fiber to other vehicles.
Talking about, you mentioned the 2 pit stops. This is a field of drivers who are, you would think they were regular Picassos at pit stops with how creative they attempt to be and the advantages they try to select. There's been a multitude of times where with Rad I've seen people win or lose a race on not as often the second pit stop decision, but that first pit stop decision, where you decide to go, is so imperative. What are some things that we can expect to see around that point? Do you expect to see a lot of people taking the risk, trying to stay out longer, do some more conservation up to that point? Or is that something more we might see on the second pit stop, is the conservation, where on the first one it's more of a gain your ground, get where you want to be?
I mean, you can go either way on it, right? Because the hypercars will perform fairly well with a low tank of fuel. But if you want to just try and, like, if you're stuck behind someone, because it can be fairly difficult to overtake, if they're just a little bit faster than you, you can come in early. I think once the first person says, no, I'm coming to pit road, that's when you see the rush of cars going, oh, I don't want to get undercut, I'm going to cover you off now. Try and maintain that position. As we see some hypercar taking, I think that was Wiston's actually getting a little bit of the inside curb there through the apex. But yeah, as soon as we see that rush of pit road, that's when as soon as the first person decides they've had enough of their current position, that's when we're going to see the rush. Given the fuel tank being fairly generous in terms of giving it a reasonable window to pit within in the scope of the race, I don't think we're going to see too much in terms of overlap, underlap. It's going to be a case of some person gets it, and some people are going to be, I want to be on the early side and come in, and some people are going to be on the late side and they're going to stay out. It's probably 2 strategies overall. We're not going to see a massive blend unless people just feel really confident on the track and just decide to go 20-20-20 in terms of stint length.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be just a fairly even blend overall. I'm not expecting any. I think it'll just be a personal preference. I'm not expecting any gains you get on pit road. You're just going to get because you find some preferable track state to be in.
Benjamin Cease taking the pole for GTPs with Monty Switchen. Not far behind, Danny Hugendorn, Tommy Patero, and Alvaro Gutierrez round out our Racing 5 front 5
we
for
want everyone to be
GTPs.
nice and packed up for the start, especially going towards the start zone, so everyone nice and close together.
Regular wonderful voice coming through from our race control. Now, before we do get into the race, something I want to pick your brain about. You mentioned turn 1 and turn 17 as your, or turn 16, pardon me, as your places to watch. Turn 1 is obviously where we start things out. So, Simon, when we talk about that, what does that mean going into turn 1 and going into turn 2 to 3 for that matter for this start of the race when you're as clumped up as can be and everybody clearly has a fast car today?
So obviously we have all of the odd-numbered cars on that inside row here going to turn 1. I don't know if I like that line today. I know like how much speed you can flick through turn 1. Yes, you're not going to find the apex, but if you are on the outside going through turn 1, if you're able to keep it alongside and keep your opponent from like taking that full exit, you can carry a lot more speed going through that corner. There is a chance that you can get that P1 from P2 if you're Witched on that outside line. And if you're doing that, the car behind is going to be able to follow through, the car behind them is going to be able to follow through. We might still be 2x2x2 all the way through for a decent number of positions coming through. This is a short grid, so the pace car will peel off and we will be ready to take this start. We'll see us in control of the field here.
And you've set us up wonderfully so, my friend, for what we need to look for going through Hockenheimring, ASR Racing. Benjamin Cease will bring them to the line with Mati side by side. Will they survive through turn 1 and 2? That's the key. Survival is key. And as we go through, Benjamin instantly to some safety, but the pack behind him actually filing through pretty cleanly, at least for the moment. No contact early. Everyone's still clean so far. Tommy Patero did get knocked back a bit, still fighting for position, holding back that 5th place. And here will be the trouble. Tommy does have some trouble lurking, but so far, Simon making it through and surviving.
Of course, my scenario right on and wishing getting as good of a jump as CS did on that start, but CS just cleared him immediately as they went up through the gear, so there's no chance to run here. But speaking of run, Hockenheimring going all the way on around the outside. Might not make this move stick, but no, you can see the slide up through from Patero. He's going to be able to at least keep it side by side coming into the next corner. But the rest of the field, getting it single file, getting it together, just, again, race survival. You don't want to be pushing if you don't necessarily need to. You just want to make sure you have a car because there's plenty of room for action. We've got action up front.
That's the big action. Matisse already going for the overtake onto Benjamin Cease, who seems to just be having a tougher time getting comfortable around Matisse. But now in the walls, Alvaro Gutierrez early on here, not even a minute and 30 seconds into the race, we've got trouble.
Rough start for him as we go back. This is the GT3 field. You can see chasing him just about. Carlos Boza chasing on the heels of Giacomo Mugera. As we have a lap one incident noted in the rest of the field as well.
Yeah, honestly, all things considered, Simon, clean start-ish.
Well,
it's somehow better and worse than I expected at the same time, if that makes any sense.
it was all going so well. Just as soon as you see one car go around, especially on that back stretch, that wall is just omnipresent there. There's not got any safety. If you're going around, you're going into that wall and you're going to probably suffer for, even if it's minor damage, the wall does not relent there. You're going to feel some aero loss there.
A lot of potential for a very long 58 minutes for some of the field as we've gone through. It really, you know, it's the squirrely you talked about, Simon. It's just a reoccurring theme already.
I was just going to say, like, you see, I was talking about extending track limits as much. A great race for him is he's going to slide all the way down the order. It looks like Carlos Ponce and Gutierrez, Gutierrez went around. It looks like he's okay. He's got the car in the pack, so he's going to be able to keep racing for now. If it's minor damage, you can take it in the pit stop.
Gutierrez definitely thankful there wasn't an incident there with Stegman, considering the way the race had started out. And Ruben is somebody who actually made the jump up to GTP not that long ago, it feels like. Just before the end of 2023, we saw Ruben racing in the GTPs and taking a step up. And I mean, great save, all things considered. Not making contact with anybody is pretty massive there, considering what we saw from Gutierrez as well.
Shamefully is the track position, but as long as the car is okay, you're able to get the tyres back underneath you, can just go okay. The field's not too spread out at this point, you can just calm down and try and get a run going as we see him battle positioning on the side. Carlos Ponce trying to get through, picks the inside, doesn't carry the speed through though, and that's going to let the Steven slide back in front.
A lot of action for 4 minutes. You would think we were at minute 46 by the way this race has started.
As much as saying, like, have a car at the end, this is probably the best chance you've got to get for a position when everyone's like stacked on top of each other. The next car in front of you is going to get checked up by the car in front. They're going to leave a window open. You could potentially get a car in sideways, but hopefully not too sideways, because otherwise, well, we've seen the after effects of that.
Well, it's funny. It's really funny you mentioned that. Something I've brought up before with Rad on previous commentaries of ASR is that one of the secrets to success that we've seen from Matisse in the past is just the ability to stay so far ahead that there is minimal chance for incident. There's nobody Matisse is trying to race. You're able to go through the pack a bit cleaner because you aren't as worried about giving up a lot of that time, a lot of that spacing. That's been one of the keys to success that we've seen consistently. So it is great you mentioned that. It really does prove to be a pivotal factor for these drivers and how you buy your time and how you ensure your survival. Leon there, bit close, but no contact, it appeared.
That's what I was saying earlier as well. If you're not got the grip in the rears, if you're a little squirrely on exits, someone's going to get chucked up on you and they're not going to be too happy about it. And that is when we see, I believe you come from the oval sphere as well. I believe that one could end up in what we call the slide job.
Yep.
Just go underneath someone, slide the car in front of them, block them off completely and make sure you get that pass made.
Yeah, it's
So-
moments like that it's thankful it isn't the case, right? Where you have to respect that boundary and you're not just saying, all right, I guess I'll just take their legs out and move my way
What
on
I'm saying
through.
is, if patience wears out on someone, that might become an option in the arsenal.
Got to make sure you have a very wide array of weaponry to use if you want to hit the survival. Is there a key yet to the race, I wonder, that we have mentioned quite a few times? Already 6 minutes in, and so far, honestly, what looked like it could have been a perfect start turned into some trouble, but since then, now 6 minutes in, since a 2-minute action, things have quite calmed down. We're in pretty clean racing, at least for the moment. And so far, the multi-class aspect is not really caught up. The pack racing hasn't begun quite yet, so still plenty of time to be calm.
If you'd like a key for all, I can give you one. Currently, the GTP leads are on my track map, maybe half of the track behind the last GT3. If you're GT3, whatever you're doing in battle position, you need to get it sorted, and you've got about half a lap to do so, because when these GTPs come around, don't be too wide. That is a great way to get a very impatient GTP, or potentially someone putting a car in where they think there's a space and there's not a space. Make sure you're single file. You will lose minimal time to getting lapped, and you'll be able to carry on your fight in a future corner. If you want the position, you get it now. Otherwise, you leave it for later.
Well, that is exactly what we were talking about, with the perfect timing as well as the GTPs have caught on up. And the pack racing begins, so now it's really time to hunker down and just make your way through it. Keep out for your eye out for the big thing that Simon mentioned. Watch when you go side by side and make sure you're going single file at the smart times, but unfortunately a lot of times it doesn't end up being the case.
Yeah, and this is, as much as I'm saying it's on the GT3s, this is now also on the GTPs. You know you're in traffic, you know the car in front of you is going to ebb and flow as they try and get through traffic with you. Well, as we see, you have to go through wide there.
Yep, there it is. Making it clean, but close to a corner, and really, the GT3s are really committing to their race through, and the GTPs, to their credit, getting through cleanly.
It's like you can know when to go 2 and 3 wide. You can definitely go 2 wide down that straight fairly safely. I don't know if you're going to gain too much trying to fight someone into that corner. It's very much an inside favoured one, but yeah, as the GTPs, the time for fighting is definitely not now. You need to get through the traffic as well, and if you're holding yourself up trying to go 3 wide with a GTP and GT3, it's not going to work out for you in the grand scheme of things unless you're very confident on the throttle. Just bide your time, stay close to the car behind, make sure you're clearing traffic as well, make sure you're not letting them put cars between you is the important detail. Because you can see there, Joao Diaz in 7th, just make sure he gets the follow through on the car he's chasing. Sebastian Vendome won't break the car, won't break away, and will be able to chase through.
Oof, barely getting past
Oh,
there.
what are we doing?
Oh,
Going down the inside.
goodness gracious. It's every time we both kind of find the moment, we find what we're looking at, and we're saying, oh, they did it. It's like, oh, okay, run that back. But a lot of times these GTPs, they tend to use the traffic in a way to make their passes work, and I think that's where a lot of the incidents come from, and a lot of the problematic racing, so to speak.
Honestly, I'm not a massive fan of doing it at lap 1 just because the traffic is so dense. It's very hard to navigate it. You may be able to pick on one car as we get 3 wide. Like, you can see, there's just going to be a GT3 in the middle of everything. Are we really going 4 wide here, folks? No, one of the backs out of it, fair enough.
Oh, wow. Did force Gutierrez there to make a reactionary move to get out of the way. No trouble from it, if not barely, and that's going to be something that we say probably 100 times before this hour is up.
I'm gonna give Lionel, the car behind there, some credit. You saw exactly what was about to happen, so you know what?
Sure.
No, I don't want to go 4 wide and like 10 minutes into this race. I'm gonna back out of it. Credit to you, putting like exactly what I was saying into practice, as we got a drive-through penalty offered to the 67, who is currently running the second to last. So unfortunately, Dave Albert Priem, who's had a bit of a bang up, but we'll get away with it. That's 4 GTPs nose to tail there, coming through the final sector. This is where you need to show patience and just make sure you're getting through these corners, making sure you're not pushing anyone out of line, and just making sure you're following through. Massive train of GTPs here.
Wow.
Massive Sure,
Is
they're
there-
kind of taking their Bucketeers, but they'll get forwards.
Is there a better word to use in this scenario so far? The way that they've been staying bunched up going through this GT3 class has been absolutely asinine to watch. And to your point, a lot of the driving has been smart, but it's lacking a lot of that patience that you're talking about. And I think that patience is where we see a lot of the racers who seem to have a leg up really make their advantage happen. I look at Matisse, who's gone through this pack and has been able to add almost a second onto the lead. Benjamin Cease, just from getting through the pack wisely and, as you mentioned, patiently.
So I will say, Matisse Wishton doesn't have a car pushing on his rear bumper. Because if you're in this train of cars, yes, you need to keep your eyes forwards. You also need to drive in a way that doesn't force the car behind to drive straight through you. You need to like keep some speed through these corners.
Right.
You need to like make sure you're not getting checked up at random points. You just need to make sure you're putting down decent pace everywhere so you're not getting driven through. When there's like so many cars stacked up on each other, that's when it gets really scary. You need to make sure, like, patience is one thing for it, but you need to be smart.
Time penalty coming through there.
227, Ricardo Tal in midfield. Unfortunate day for him then is have to take a long stop and hope he can make it back on track. As we see the leaders now clear of traffic for the GTPs, which has pulled out. It's pushing 2 seconds though. He's actually found some space to work. You are sort of limited by how fast you can go through traffic, but once he's found space,
Well, while
away
we've
from the
got
bumper.
the little bit of speed, at least it's time, some breathing room for a lot of these drivers. A lot of the GT3s now have their opportunity to make some of the moves for position they might have not been able to do as cleanly as the GTPs were making their way through. Obviously, there's still some mixed in the pack further back, but not nearly the same bull rush that was coming through.
Yeah, now is a good time to like get your elbows out a bit. You might go 3 wide, but it's only going to be temporary as GTPs just have so much closing speed. And actually, nice little move here. Scarlett's going to get down the inside, gets his foot down. Not as much as like traction control might be kicking in a bit. They're keeping that car forward, but still a little bit of time loss.
It continues to be close there. They have not left their side-by-side, but finally going into the corner. There's actually some ground made up.
Oh, not able to get alongside again.
Gets cut off. Looks for it, still not quite giving up yet on trying to advance that position is the number 3. Bart Schiller will he go through again, still sticking with it, but not able to find that advantage.
Ooh.
Some gravel though, caught.
Like, this is the thing, like, as much as Scott might want to get through, Kovac's just making this car exceptionally wide right now, and it's hard to get alongside. You can hear the onboard. Scott actually had to get out of the gas just to make sure he didn't get in the rear end. Keep that car, trying to find a way to get that car alongside, because right now Scarlett is just using all the bumper as we go into a replay here. Mergia, you heard him get on the radio earlier. This was the lead car in the field. And he just,
Yeah, unfortunately
that
had
was like
the
a really
corner
clumsy
hit.
incident.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you can't really. That's what you have to watch for. You mentioned the respect. I feel like that was something you talked about back in practice. The respect that's needed going through, because yes, you're the faster car, you're making your way through, but you have to have the patience and respect to not cause situations like that, which is just so unfortunate for
I'll say,
Mergia.
from that angle, it could have been netcode. However,
Possible.
as Winston, you've driven these cars for like however long at this point. You have to realize if you're that close to another car, there's going to be a chance of netcode happening. Just give them like just a tiny bit more room. That's all they need to make sure they get away with that cleanly, and so you don't end up in a replay killing a GT3 like that. It's a little bit clumsy for him, I'm going to be honest. I think it was Winston. I'm not sure who it was. It was definitely one of his stable mates, if not him. But all right, we got some replays coming up for you. So now we go through some of the incidents we've seen coming up on our penalties for. Let's actually see the incidents.
Demo derby time, if that's your thing.
Race start for Alex Otts. Not a great jump for him. Will slide. No, doesn't think he's clear. We'll go back to the outside. Comes through. Bit of contact. Ott goes around into the barrier. Nice race. Please take that car straight to the pits.
And that was Gutierrez barely avoiding it again. That makes that 3 incidents that Gutierrez was almost a part of, 1 was a part of, but 2 he just barely missed out on.
On board, well, not on board. Seeing Robot Kovac violently rear-ended a car. I was looking on his outside, seeing if someone cut him off, and no, he just drove into someone, and there's a massive crash afterwards.
Oh my goodness. The entire field back there, the entire back half of that field, and then there was another one at the tail end of it.
Let's see this from Canada's view then. He's coming through. Braking point's going to get missed. There's going to be contact in front of him. And he's just got nowhere to go, so he gets checked up a little bit. Corrin's outside, he needs to give him room. You need to... to be fair, that's like 50-50. I don't know if he was on... The car on the outside was on track or not, but if he's... Track limits on that situation are going to be paying the rear end as someone has lost their rear end and loses the car because of it. As Kilmar, I think he's lost a bit of performance in the car there, just on bodywork damage. No room to breathe either. We're going to go 3 wide here. Carantix, he's going to get blocked a little bit. We're really blocking here. We're really squeezing all the way to the inside, huh? And he's going to get tagged. No, he doesn't hit the car in front of him because the car in front of them is going to get spun instead.
Of all the cars that were racing there, as we saw the borderline 4 wide about to be pushed, it's the car in the very front that gets turned and causes the incident. That's absurd.
And it's bad to worse for Alex. Oh, no. I mean, he's already a shotgun on the field. He's got damage at this point. I believe this is the same incident we saw earlier. And his car stopped in front of him, and he tried to get the car stopped. You can't see a car stopped there.
Yeah, that's unlucky. Tough day to be a GT3, it seems.
Kildart eating away at the rear wing of the car in front. Gets to the inside. Can't quite hold it together. Might have been helped, but it was a low percentage move at the best of times. Not a massive fan of that rejoin, but okay, he comes back off track, fair enough. And now we see Kildart in the middle of traffic, and he just turns into a GTP.
Oh my goodness.
I like another angle on that, but from that one, it does look like he just turned in. We're not getting more. There's more to go through. Ovale. Oval. This
will be the last one we look at with Juanso Ovale here.
That makes more sense. That was okay. Not massive. That was definitely netcode initiating the contact. I don't know if that would have been avoidable though, and he does end up spun out for it anyway. So. Production. Oh, we got on board with CS, who was your race lead. Now it's as 9th place. Oh no, we're about to see something terrible happen, I believe. They're fighting in front
had
of
such
him.
a great qualifying too, but just gets in the wrong place at the wrong time. Gets turned into from 2 GT3s and then caught. Luckily, able to get off the track just in time, but that is so unfortunate for Benjamin Cease, who had had such a great qualifying run and had been sitting in 2nd place, Simon, the entirety of the start of this race, and keeping up with Matisse, at least to an extent.
Like this is what I was talking about. You need to be aware of where the GTPs are in this field. You need to not be fighting if you're going to be making moves like that, especially. I'm not sure what initiated that contact when we got loose. He was trying to just shove all the way to the outside and the car in the middle wasn't prepared for it, but that just ended so badly for everyone involved. Like, that annoyed me for the car that probably initiated the contact. Either way, Balon just sent it through on the inside of Daniel Maggioni, excuse me.
I was gonna say your crew chief is coming out, Simon. I can hear the irritation in your voice of the crew chief experience of years past.
Daytona was okay for a while, and then there were
have been lost up.
Bouter getting on the comms just asking for a check on an incident. But yeah, like when you go through the field, you learn cars that are going to be incidents for you. As that's just a GTP missing his apex there. It's unfortunate for Bouter. I think he maybe could have given him a little bit more room if he saw it coming, but I don't think he was ready for it.
Sorry, separate incident we're looking at as well.
But yes, it's just a case of, the GT3s that are going to cause you troubles. You try and play patient around them, but you're going to get annoyed at them every single incident as they come through.
You see Danny Hockenheimring heading to the pits there.
And this is 20 minutes into the race. This is about when you want to start making your pit stops. You see a few cars coming in here. I believe 5 have come in for pit service so far, and to be fair, some of them have come in a lot earlier. Just because of the damage you'd have to believe. But,
Yeah, a lot of wear and tear of this race to go through so far.
Yes, yeah, Hockenheimring and Dadswell will be the first real contenders to pit. Yeah, GTP, I believe, on the inside, the diver. You got a penalty. Yeah, I think if you're going to make that move, you need to make sure you're pinning it to the apex there. It's fair enough giving that penalty. It's just rather unfortunate for the GT3 on the outside. You just, if there was a moment, if it was like half a second further back, it would have been fine overall. But yeah, it's definitely on the inside causing a collision.
One of those penalties coming through from the incidents we just went through, which, you know, I'm probably jinxing it again, but we talked about it the early. Started clean, got chaotic, had some clean for a while, back to chaotic. I did it again! I did it again! More incidents happened through, this time to Diaz, who's in a bad spot, gets sent off the track with the GT3 for more contact. That's...
the second part of that contact looked like Demon Dragonet code, which is like very rarely seen. The car's just pushing both of them out right, but I don't know what incident caused that initial contact, but it presumably would have been a minor tap, if anything. Oh no, never mind. It's Maggioni getting a little bit too hot on the gas, and that was actually turn right. Oh, overcorrection on the oversteer, and just ends up cleaning house. And Diaz, I believe, was scheduled to make a pit stop anyway, so he's not going to lose much time in making an extra one, but he's going to need to make some repairs on that car, definitely.
I'm never mentioning the quality or the chaoticness of the race again. I've done it 3 times now, and every time I have, it's just been pure chaos. I'm not doing it again. My apologies to those affected.
Gutierrez will get through into 6th place. Had an early incident, but has managed to bring it back, bringing it up. Granted, it's another 15-second penalty. Sorry, 5-second penalty for 227 of Ricardo Tallon. It's about to coming through pit lane here. Bolt got the penalty. Okay, never mind. I thought GTP got the penalty there. Oh, that is clumsy. There's no other word for it. It's just clumsy. Bartley driving a little hot, hits the inside wall, takes the toe, does go like a surprising way back across the track for just a minor tap on the inside. I will say that in his defense, but...
Well, you know, it's funny. This is actually, to me, that kind of screams more of what I see in a lot of other esports as well, where it's sort of the, you got to control your mental after situations.
Yes.
Right? You have the penalty, you have the contact, now you have to control it, focus in. You're a bit distracted coming out of pit lane there, and you just make things worse by just getting a little bit off kilter. It's unfortunate, but those are the types of things that can make such a big difference, and you really have to work to improve the mentality of.
It's like that's one of the things I actually do most of as a crew chief, is this, like, when you get in those incidents, it can be really frustrating, but you need to make sure your driver is calm and collected still, because they still have a race to drive.
Yeah, a lot of time
I'll be frustrated
left.
about it. I don't have to worry about the car. These guys, I don't know if they what their crew chief setup is, but if you're sat on your own, just banging out laps and something happens to you, it just feels so terrible, and that is when the mood sets the lowest, and that is when the mistakes start to creep in, definitely.
Yeah, definitely need to have the lo-fi meditation on standby. Feel we get through a lot of it. Coming up on 25 minutes into the race so far, Matisse still sitting at the top of the GTPs. GT3s, Carlos Bauza hanging on very well with an 11-second lead for the GT3s. Been sitting incredibly comfortable, but as Simon has mentioned, we are in pitting territory. Matter of fact, the leaders for the GTPs are pitting as I say it, which sets us up for the second part of the race.
I believe that is Leon Vanel, well, I believe he's hasn't pitted on the nature of he's coming into the pits at the end of this lap. He's a little further back in 6th place right now. You can see him there on the mini-map. But yeah, I believe this is about the extent you can go on the lap tank of fuel. And given the amount of cars that we've seen come in late, Gets the leader doing, you have to believe it's a preferred strategy coming late as Kranta gets overtaken by Hypercar. On the brakes.
Oh.
Takes the tow. He's parked up and not sure what happened there. Perhaps a mechanical failure, and it's just like, well, I need to just get this car off the track. Unfortunate day for him then, as Stigman comes out in 6th as he was behind Gutierrez. So no change positions there, but a bit more of a gap in status. Ciez comes out in 4th.
Benjamin C's still in 4th place. Having had the pit stop after the trouble that we've seen for Benjamin, it really does speak to the quality there. Being able to stay in 4th. We saw Benjamin drop down, I believe it was down to 9th.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
Yes, it was. So yeah, excellent drive. Like, sometimes you're just faster than people. If you have an instance like that, you can bring it back significantly. He's still 8 seconds off of the leads, as he's being shown. Oh, he's 3 seconds off Hugedorn, who is right on the bumper of Tommy Patera, actually. A little bit further up the track.
Making up ground on Tommy Patero as well. Tommy's had I'm scared to even say it, but Tommy so far had a clean race, nice and safe. But none of the craziness we're used to seeing. I know, I didn't want to say it, but like, that's my job, you know? I bit my pen while I said it, I was so nervous.
Well, Hugedorn and Patero are gaining on the GT3s here. There's a few stragglers in front of them.
Alright,
This is where it gets spicy. Through the first one.
Yeah, oh man. I shouldn't have said a word. You know, I thought about it too. I was like, it's my job. I gotta do it. Caster's curse isn't real, and it's so real.
It's absolutely, like, it's
There's the overtake there from Danny Hugedorn as well, taking advantage of that GT3 to make the pass happen, which is something that we actually talked about when we initially got into that pack racing, is being able to utilize GT3s. I think there was actually some contact behind who were riding on board with as well. It's kind of hard to see in the background, but I'll have to see later if that comes back up.
Well, Hugedorn's definitely a racer that has shown a lot of race pace previously. I was on here for Road Atlanta, and he had a few incidents where he lost control of the car a little bit and he spun around. Road Atlanta's a very unforgiving track at times. When he was keeping the car point forward, he was just putting out so much fast lap time. He was cleaving through traffic, both GTPs and GT3s. Ends up with a decent finish overall. So if he's able to keep the car point forwards, I think he's definitely on for podium in the overall race, certainly.
Tommy Patera losing a lot of time currently as Benjamin C's catching up.
I don't know if he's losing time or it's Hugedorn taking time out of Wisden, and he's staying in place relative to the leader, but Hugedorn is just on absolute flyer right now. Oh, not more bad news for Diaz. Goes round the outside, GT3 washes up. Oh, this is in replay.
Oh, yes, what's the same one we had seen, thankfully. I thought the same thing. I was like, don't tell me it's a repeat accident. Report Diaz.
Oh, it's big. Racing incident is the official word from Race Control. And presumably, well, to be fair, I'm on this one fairly far out far cam with a brief replay, so I'll take their word for it. But they definitely have access to more options than I do. It's Van der Hoover. Yeah. Stalwart driver in the AM category, currently 5th overall. I'm staring at this guy and I'm thinking he's done like good performances back-to-back weeks now when I've been here. This man doesn't feel like an AM driver, but he's definitely showing that even like if he's got the category of AM, he can still be competitive. He's chasing pole sister Benjamin Ciez. Like, he's keeping in lockstep right now. It's a good showing from him overall.
It is impressive to see that, especially on a track that so far has proven to be such a difficult drive around, to be able to keep up, keep on pace, and make things competitive, even in the sense of, as you said, just keeping your way in lockstep and being keen to see what you can make happen with your race and pushing your own abilities, realistically speaking.
All right, let's see some traffic navigation abilities. Ciez decides he doesn't want to dive the GT3s, so back out, gets the inside there. I don't think the Ferrari was ready for that, and he'll slide through. Oh, they cross each other up, always making contact, and that's going to let the car behind Tom Dadswell slide through the outside block, thrown by by CSZ Slates to the inside, but that's not going to stop Dadswell. He goes round the outside, can't get the anchors on though, and he'll fall back into 5th.
And look how Sebastian made use of that scenario too to keep safe by coming through the apex and avoiding the action of the 2 chaotic members around side. Dadswell cuts, trying to take the outside around of Benjamin, but gets caught up and sent off track from trying to respond to just the simple racing going through the corner.
He's trying to get too deep on the corner. Again, no ABS in these cars. It's very dangerous to go like too hard on the brakes. And he's just carrying too much speed into the corner, trying to get the move done on entry, that he's just losing the car and exit. And again, exit is king. That's where you get your foot down. That's when you get to make lap time. And now, Robert Dumal has got into the back of this train, and Lorenzo Zafoli's not too far off either.
It's an incredibly close so far. Now 31 minutes and 20 seconds in, and a bit squirrely there. We used the word earlier. Now you know why. And Dadswell going to go ahead and make that overtake happen thanks to the squirreliness, and not instantly respond this time. That's
not a squirrel. That's just a full snap of oversteer. I'm surprised Van der Hooven managed to keep control of.
The squirrel's in the car fighting.
Actually. But yeah, Van der Hooven's going to have to slide back into 6th place. He's still got the toe. He's still able to make lap time from this position. But yeah, Tom Dadswell just not taking no for an answer, just keeps on top of it. And he's got pace to keep on top of Sears here. He's going to have an opportunity to take that 4th position overall very shortly, you have to believe.
Surprisingly calm between these two. Yeah, I'm riding on board with Tom Dadswell. Sebastian does not seem comfortable staying behind Dadswell for too long, looking for any opportunity to make a move. And the GT3s factored in majorly so to these two racing through, but Sebastian really not one to be slowed down, it appears. And they have some more coming up, so potential for a maneuver to happen from Sebastian. And Dadswell going to get a bit slowed up, but Sebastian not going to be in a bad spot, no contacts made. I was a bit worried based on how that Solop set up that maybe there would be some, but worked out in the end.
I was just worried that Tom's going to stay behind the GT3 there, get checked up, and that was going to let Sebastian make a move, but no. Tom dives to the inside and makes sure he's able to pull away before the opportunity gets given over. And now you can see, because that GT3 is put between, there is a massive gap, but not between Dumal and Zafoli, as they go just about side by side into the corner.
Zafoli not wanting to give any room, going to lead to some contact. That's not the way you want to get through that, as you can tell by our flabbergasted crew chief here in the booth.
It's one of those where you don't know how bad it's going to be because you're worried that the car behind is going to end up spinning across. Dumal does a good job of keeping the car point before he's going to dive. He thinks about it. Just show her the bumper, just say, I'm not happy with you right now. I am going to go tooth and nail here. If I can get back up to you, you better pray you can get some timing if you're going to do moves like that.
Robin Duhamel is somebody who I've seen have some very, very exciting back and forth racing for position throughout my time commentating for ASR. Looking to do more of it so far today. Dadswell is putting up some more room between himself and Sebastian Van Den, which came off of the GT3. Matter of fact, hanging on to Benjamin Cease's bumper. Sebastian, though, not one to give up, Simon. I think we can say that pretty comfortably so. And now that the GT3s have moved out a bit, Sebastian making up a lot of that time that was lost when they got in front of him, and the GT3 had given him problems.
Does also have the benefit, because he stayed fairly close overall, he's actually going to have a decent toe here, so he's going to be able to make up some of that gap just on the nature of going to have a bit more speed down these straights. And oh, Dadswell goes very wide on the exit there. Slight bit of aero wash, I think. He's just got a little less downforce because the car in front's breaking that wind, so the car doesn't turn quite as well, but still keeps it close. We're going to be on top of each other onto the entry towards the Parabolica. And this is where it gets scary. You have a car behind there shown he's very eager to make this overtake, who now has a massive speed advantage, dives to the inside. Can he get it on the brakes this time? Ooh, slide job.
That's going to give Sebastian an opening to go through low, falling behind Benjamin Cease, but Dadswell able to recover slightly in time, but just as you first saw, the issue going into that hairpin was that Dadswell just overshooting it consistently.
Like, he had the move done. If he just got on the brakes maybe a tenth sooner, get the apex of that corner and then just shoot off into the distance, but goes a little bit too hot, and Benjamin does a good job of just getting the car turned, gets underneath him, puts his foot down, and just shoots off into the distance again. Now he'll have the lead of this group coming to this next lap. And speaking of the lead, I just want to point out Wishton has pulled ahead again, now 6.2 seconds. As time has got instantly investigated, but yeah, Wishton and Hugenor have just pulled away from the field. 10 seconds to Patero, and then another 5 to Sears. So top 3 feeling fairly confident coming to the second round of pit stops in maybe 5 minutes, but right now this is definitely the action. The battle for fourth is raging.
Yeah, and the...
Someone got a drive for the penalty. Off-track drive for the penalty. Could I get the name again, please?
I've noticed that Tom Daz has been getting a lot of ice tracks. If he's not careful, he's going to get a drive-through penalty.
Oh, not actually got one yet. It's just
No.
the instant count is rising.
No, it's just that when 17 incidents happen, which is like 1 for an off-track, 2 for a loss of control,
Yes.
and 4 if you touch another car. And if you reach a 17x, that's when you get a drive-through penalty. So just be wary that it might happen.
Yeah, Dadswell definitely living dangerously so far, running the risk of an off-track penalty. And one thing it's done is it's made Benjamin Cease's life a lot harder. We talked about earlier, Benjamin Cease was making up some ground onto Tommy Patero. That really is not as much of the case as we saw because of all this racing around Benjamin. It slowed him down significantly so, getting passed by Dadswell a couple of times as well. It's put this front of the pack in a very interesting spot, Simon.
It's put the front of the pack in a very comfortable spot, I will say, just because they've been able to build so much of a buffer between the next cars. That if these cars, like 4th through 7th, want to really start getting time, they need to stop going side by side and pushing each other to the absolute limit. Because when you're fighting so hard, you're definitely like just bleeding time. And even if you might be overall faster than the cars in front, if you're spending too much time just brawling, you are not going to be able to catch up properly. So right now, I don't know if he's the cork in the bottle necessarily, but he's certainly doing a good job of holding up the car behind overall. I feel like there might be an early pit stop coming in for Dadswell, Van der Hoover, Foley, just to try and get out of this situation. Try and give themselves a little bit of tracks working and try and get the undercut going.
I like that. That's exactly some of the crew chief behavior I was expecting, is taking advantage, and we talked about the second pit stop and what that could bring, and using it to get yourself safe from the dangers of the pack racing that we've seen is a wise move, and we're coming up on 38 minutes, so the second pit stop is certainly looming.
Because I feel like there's not too much in it. The lap times in GTP don't degrade too much over a stint. You're not going to suddenly come out and be flying. I feel like Wishton, Hugadorn and Patero potentially are going to go long. They've done it last time, they'll probably do it again just to have a small tank of fuel on the end stint. If you're in the mid pack and you just need to get out and find yourself a bit of breathing room to set some decent lap times, that's when you can really take advantage of coming in early. I'd say you can make it to the end now, so the pit window is open if you're willing to take full tank of fuel towards the end. It will slow you down a little bit, but definitely potential if you just want to get out of someone's way. On board with Lionel out in a replay, he'll go off track, get back on track.
You know, comparatively speaking, well, give it a second just to be sure. Okay, comparatively speaking, Tame going into this corner, still clean.
Oh, that's
turned
around.
Matteo LeMay gets turned around. That's Sebastian.
Emphasis turned.
Yeah. So this gets turned around by Sebastian Van Den, who I believe that was in the purple car.
Van Hoovel. That's an unfortunate contact for him. Yeah. Race Control going to be investigating that one, you have to believe, but these BMWs don't seem to be having a fun time on track in the GT3 field. Race incident is the ruling from Race Control. So yeah, no fun. It's from that camera angle, it's hard to tell if who turned in on who, and if those cars just end up meeting in the middle. It's unfortunate it was a GT3 because you've definitely got the worst overall of it, but it's hard to really assign blame in that situation. Battle for 11th place here is Brian Lawrence defending hard against Christian Glansetter. Coming through into across the start-finish line, this is probably where you see the most action on the track, just because that's when, again, you get the overspeed from going on across the curbs, you get the toe. This is where you can really start to make some moves.
as we head into turn 1. Christian still looking for some type of opening there, but so far having a tough time making it happen on Brian. Looks like he's really looking to be keen to try to, I don't want to say take the advantage, but maybe look for the same thing we've been seeing, Simon. Look for the going too hard into a corner and you catch, Christian catches them off guard and finds the opening because you got shot too high. But Christian is making it happen and just cleanly going from the inside.
That was very nice. That move was set up from turn 2. You can see Glancette got a much more of a tidy line through the corner, where Loins like sent the car out wide through turn 2. Glancette just took the inside line, set himself up nicely for turn 5 Parabolica, stayed behind, stayed in the toe, goes off track. Unfortunate for him, he's probably going to lose that position. There's a puff of smoke in front of Benjamin Sieres. There's a car off track, but it's very much out of the way. Fair play to the GT3 for holding it there, but yeah, if you're going to go for that long dive into the hairpin, you can set it up so far advantage. Make sure you're going to have that speed advantage coming through. Dive to the inside. Make sure you're easy on the brakes, and it's an easy move to make. But from the time marks, it looked like a self-spin GT3 as Dadswell is fighting for position here. Goes through on Sieres. Slides in front, keeps it on track, perfect dive into turn 1. Dadswell P3 overall.
We were talking about Dadswell being somebody who was really making things happen and taking risk, and that time it paid off. Now looking at incident here with Eunice in the 111 and Tommy Patero in that number 8, as we did see that was an incident being investigated. Tommy Patero heading low, and
it's a self spin, but he cleans out.
Yeah, catches Tommy Patero on the way past. Eunice just losing control there. That is tough for Tommy Patero. It feels like an all too familiar theme.
The curbs can be dangerous in that if you just get the car unsettled in slightly the wrong way, the car does have a habit of just losing control, and it will go around. Has been declared a race incident by race control. Patero's getting loose on those curbs. He's talking about earlier. If you're not ready to catch the car, even if you just jink out a little bit, if there's a car on your outside there, that's contact. That's potentially both cars going around. It's so dangerous. But you need to take as much out of these track loops as you can, because that's how you get the most speed out of the track. You want to extend, you want to carry speed through these corners, but if you just take the sausage curbs at slightly the wrong angle, it can end in disaster.
Benjamin C's heading into the pits. I mean, it's the first of the cars on the faster side of things taking their second stop, so certainly be a sign of things to come here as we are at 43 minutes. Matisse Witchin still in the lead, but Danny Hoogendorn in second place. I so far have seen consistently that Matisse has just been left alone this race. I mean, is there any hope of catching him, barring some kind of incident that slows Matisse down? It feels like so far it's just the rumor, the whisper in the wind of Matisse in first place.
I want to believe in a world where we could potentially fight Wishton for P1, but he just had the run of the field the whole race. Hoogendorn hasn't come into the pits, but he's fallen down the order, which is very scary. He's fallen out of the top 7. What's P2 really the only challenge Wishton had? That car has no front end.
That'll do it. That'll definitely slow you down, to say the least.
And as much as we might have been wanting after Wishton to maybe contest for the leads, I mean, he's going to lose the car. He's got no front end coming to turn 6.
See how that incident happened with Danny, but just turns and slams. Was that a self spin? I don't think there was any contact with the GT3.
It was contact, okay. Oh no, it was self spin. Okay, yeah, in which case I've done the long range commentary curse. Well, I was saying, you have to be careful on the curbs. You can lose the car if you go too much of the curbs.
Hey, I've had like 10 this game, or this race, pardon me. You were 100% due for one yourself. It's unfortunate happening to Danny Hoogendorn, of course. Never want to see somebody's race end, as they've been having such a great race in this way and have them sent down in position, but it feels like it's been a day of caster curses.
It really has been. It's been fortunate on our end, certainly, but certainly more unfortunate for Hoogendorn, as he'll be able to get a front wing attached. They are fairly quick repairs than like an endurance race, perhaps in an hour-long sprint. That is his race definitely over in terms of fighting for a podium, fighting for a top 5.
Alvaro Gutierrez currently in 5th place and racing well. And when we go back, when we think how this race started, I think 3 of the first 4 replays, one had a direct incident involving Gutierrez, and the other 2, Gutierrez barely avoided the trouble. For that to be the case, and Gutierrez to be, one way or another, competing, is incredibly impressive.
And Gutierrez actually hunting down Zaffolia as well, as we see some more cars coming in for... Nope, that is the GT AM split. I was going to say, Sebastian van der Hoeven, 2nd place overall, AM driver by the way, currently being chased down. But it's fantastic drive for him. Has Stegman... No, this is Stegman chasing down Sears for position. It'll be P8. As I believe Sears had already come down for service, you said?
Yeah, Cease was actually the first of the faster cars we've been keeping our eyes on today in the GTPs. Cease was one of the first to come into the pits. Happened about, I think it was around 42 minutes or so.
Yes. And I think based on the first and Wichton and Gutierrez, we'll come in the next 2 or 3 minutes, based on they came in about 24, 25 minutes in their first stint, so they will have this round of pit stops done fairly sharpish. Stegman trying to get through, but it's going to get blocked up by GT3 here, forced to go around the outsides. It'll give him a lot of speed down Parabolica, but the gap has been instated. He's going to lose a little bit of effect into the toe. You can see just how far in front the car is. Duhamel going for a little dive here. He is 2nd place in AM right now, 4 seconds chasing Van der Hoeven. He's got a podium on the AMs, but right now Van der Hoeven just has the run of the fields for them. But the real run of the field is Matthias Wichton, who is now 21-second buffer to 2nd place. As Duhamel will come in for service. I believe Wichton and Van der Hoeven have gone around this time, as has Gutierrez, so they'll be coming in perhaps the next time by. Clamsets through as well.
It's been quite a race up to this point, Simon, and now getting closer to that 10-minute to go mark. About to head up to 48 now as 2nd pit stops are coming through. We're going to see our final sort of shuffle for positions coming out of those pits. In these last 10 minutes, what are some things that you're expecting to see? Notably, most of the battles for true position have been less so, obviously, for the leaders and more in that sort of podium area, the 3rds down to 5th or 6th. Let's take a look at Tom Dadswell. And go ahead. Honestly, Simon, take us through, because we've been talking about Tom Dadswell in these corners the entire race, and finally one bites him.
Dadswell's been pushing the limit of the track consistently. We've had the warning come that he's potentially looking at a drive-through for track limits eventually. But yeah, just you push a little bit too hard, you take 2 wheels off the track, you bring them up over the curb again. That unsettles the car. The rear just has no bite in it, and the car just loops around. And now he's in a battle for position with Joao Diaz, who's right on his rear. So I was going to say, like, we've seen some of the aggressive moves we've been seeing so far. Now is the time when I feel like the gloves are going to be well and truly off, because these drivers know they're in a dogfight for positions. It's a 10-minute sprint race towards the end, effectively. If you can fight for position, you're going to fight for position. Wichton, he's fine. He's off with the distance. He's 25 seconds to Gutierrez. He needs to make another pit stop, yes, but he's not going to fall too far in people's clutches. Bo's the leader in the GT3 field. He's also got a decent buffer to 2nd, though he might get caught by Watson on pits. We'll see how that battle resolves towards the end, but if you can fight for position, you're going to fight for position. You need to be a little bit cautious, but also you know the moves are going to come. As Elwout pinches down on the nose a little bit of Zaffolia there. Well, that's Glamsetter. Yes. And like, this is the kind of racing you're going to have to expect now, because now Elwout has the lead into the hairpin, and the car behind are going to get a run on him. And this is when moves get done. Car on the inside, easy on the brakes, sends it all the way to the right line, the outside, and I think unfortunately Elwout's broken himself as...
He's very hard on the brakes there, and I suppose in response to the move there from Elwout, trying to be safe.
I don't know, I feel like he was on the straight and he was about to get his foot down and he just couldn't do it. felt the car start to slide out from underneath him. Just get on the anchors, make sure that car's still pointing forwards, because again, you do need to finish this race in 10 minutes. You do need a car that's going to get you there. But you can see these movers are going to start coming in, and if you've got a pack like this that can have that massive toe down that parabolica corner, it's going to be an absolute dogfight into it, and cars are going to be going everywhere.
As we've seen, a lot of the second stops are finally completed. Bar Gutierrez went in. Was that Alvaro's second stop? Yes, it was.
Yes.
Hanging out for a while. So a lot of the second stops are done, the exception being Leon Elwood there, having only done one just now coming into the pit. So with 9 minutes left to go, this is where the field is at, with the few changes coming through, obviously being that Gutierrez will be dropping a few, having been in the pits. But from here, it's chaos. Tom Datswell back on track and already jockeying around.
Yep. It might be got for an unsafe pit exit there, crossing the white line and exit. Right now, he can't focus on that. He's going to have to focus on the fact that he's got a battle with Stegman. Dives down the inside, gets on the brakes properly, takes a huge chunk of curb on the inside, but that's not going to, it's going to compromise his exit. Certainly is now. We are weaving all over the track here, trying to find some clean air to breathe in.
Diaz just trying to play it safe and look for the opening. Diaz, up to this point, has made a big comeback themselves. They don't want to lose it here. Heading into the turn, Datswell shoots it up again, but Diaz unable to find a way through. Datswell, at this point, just trying to keep up with Stegman and not lose that ground gained.
There's a lot of flashing from Diaz. He is not happy with the way he's being raced right now, all across the track, going around the GT3, but it's certainly not great when you're back close to the mud, because as soon as that car in front of you starts to move, you have to slow up to let them move, otherwise you're both going for a spin.
Benjamin Cease looking here for Duhamel as well, Simon. There's racing all across the GTP board right now. You said it, gloves off moment. Well, they're bare hands on the wheel, giving everything they've got at this point.
Bare hands on the wheel and bare hands on each other, it feels like. Like, there's no gaps being left when there's a chance to get right onto someone's rear bumper. They are going hell for leather here, and this is another chance. It's turn 5, it's the action corner. The hairpin coming up is going to be... No, they're going to keep a single file for now. Cease just decides to play this one slow and look for a move on exit as he peeks towards the inside, can't quite get alongside.
Nothing more than a peak there for Cease, but was looking for it in the hairpin. We've talked about it so many times. It feels like all the same spots keep coming up. Look how close all these position battles are. Cease not letting up on Duhamel. They're both catching up to Christian there, who's just hanging on. Going back further, Diaz still battling with Dadswell as well. It just doesn't stop across the field right now.
It's like, again, turn 6 is the action corner because that's where you get the most draft, the massive corner. As much as it is a corner, it's basically a glorified straight, and that's when you can just really generate a speed advantage over your opponents and get that deep send in. But if you're this close through the stadium section, there's a chance you might just get enough of an overtake. Like, see, I think he might have a bit of a run here. As,
car around, it's Diaz around. Diaz, who was racing so closely with Tom Dadswell for the last, feels like forever, seems to go in hot, actually makes contact with Dadswell, and the spin collects them both and takes out two incredible cars throughout this race.
So I will say, Dadswell's been very uncomfortable on corner exit this entire race. He's bringing it all the way around to get back on track. To be fair, this is pit entry, but I believe he's bringing that car in for service. Well, we've seen it all race where he's been uncomfortable on corner exit. I'm like, I don't know what caused it, but you could see that Diaz just ended up having a better exit. Didn't have anywhere to really put his foot down. Leaving that corner, ends up in his rear, and Dadswell was fighting that car, trying to keep it pointed forwards. Didn't want to let off there, just to regain control of the car. He wanted to keep his foot down and try and maintain the lead, but obviously that car was just fishtailing like crazy and goes around.
Does brings down one of the closer races we had seen, so the new action remains with Cease, Duhamel, and Christian. And these three cars so far have felt inseparable for the last bit. We just now have 5 minutes left to go in our hour race today at Hockenheimring. And I would very much expect Benjamin Cease to try to make some kind of big pass here, because Simon, it feels like this whole race has been a story of Benjamin trying to make things happen. Checking in on Sebastian, that 193 car as well.
Tommy Patera has been right on his bumper for a while now, and
A long time.
this is it's 0.5 back coming into this corner, so I think he's going to be too far back to make a move this time, but also be able to close up that gap a lot. And next time by is when I think it's going to get really scary for Van der Hoover. He was on set for a podium at Road Atlanta last time by, just about slipped out of his fingers in the final moments. Right now set up for a solid second place finish if he can keep Patera behind him for 5 more minutes. It's a hard task, I know, but there's definitely the driver to do it here.
Tommy Patera is also very hungry for that second place, was very comfortable so far in these podium slots. The majority of this race, we did see some trouble catch Patera earlier, but number 8 car does not want that to be the case for long, wants to have today be a strong finish, a strong day, but have to get through Sebastian, who has shown all race long to be one of the stronger competitors in those back and forth races. Benjamin C still looking for an opportunity to make the ground up onto Christian here. It feels like that has not stopped for the last 5 minutes. We've been talking about the potential of Benjamin being able to pull through.
I like that exit from CS in this infield section. He might be able to get an overspeed here. Has to take a compromise line just because there's a GT3 on his outside through the final corner. Doesn't look like he's got the speed advantage. He's going to have to stay in formation for now.
Those GT3s are very much impacting the front of the pack and how they are racing through. Checking back on Robin Duhamel, who did lose some ground. We saw Duhamel involved in the racing with Benjamin Cease, but just overshoots and ends up off the track there.
Yeah, minor lockup as he tries to get on the anchors. That's just going to send his car straight out. Not too much loss overall, but unfortunately has lost contact with the cars in front for now. As Diaz offered a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. I believe that would be the incident.
With Tom's Dadswell that we saw
Dadswell
going into the corner. Yeah, it's unfortunate for Diaz, who's had a topsy-turvy race, to say the least, for it to culminate in a 10-second penalty.
But says, oh, whoa! Darmstetter turns left, a right-hander shoots straight into nowhere. This is, there we go.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Just vanished.
My thinking is he just got too much on the power, doesn't have enough in the traction control. The car just snaps out from underneath him as he tries to pull left to try and get past the GT3. And the car just overcorrects massively, shoots off into nowhere. That looks so bizarre.
Obviously, this wasn't the case, but the look of it genuinely looks like he just turned the wheel and said, "We're going left." It's so odd.
Yeah, no, I think he doesn't let the car settle coming out the corner, tries to turn left to go around to the left side of the GT3 in front of him, and the car just doesn't have the grip in the rear to really support that move, and it just goes around on him.
Coming up on 59 minutes of the 1 hour so far, and all of our close races, for the most part, have vanished. We're left now with the main one at hand, being Tommy Patera and Sebastian. We have talked about them a ton so far, checking in on some GT3 trouble as well.
There's a lot of names in that incident where we just saw. Now, this might be the replay of it. Spence goes for a dive bomb, tags the car in front because he's not alongside an entry, and collects a GTP who's trying to get on the brakes to not run into him. Unfortunate there for Spence. I think he's got a little too excited to come into that corner, and car in front, didn't see if he was alongside or not, if maybe the car in front turned in when he perhaps shouldn't have, but yes. Those are the dive bombs that go wrong.
59 minutes, 30 seconds just crossed by, and Tommy Patera looking aggressively, trying to get past Sebastian. Monty switch in, looks like he will take another victory here on ASR, which is not shocking if you've watched any, but this battle for second place is intense as Tommy goes to look for the pass, has an opening for it, but Sebastian not wanting to give it up into the corner. Tommy will have the advantage and get the pass through. Sebastian sticks with it and tries to get one through, unable to so far.
I would have made the move there, because right now Van der Hoover's going to have a massive run down this backstretch. Patera, he's going to have to dive to the inside here, because if not, I think Van der Hoover might just send it on him. He's going to have the speed advantage. I think Van der Hoover might have backed out of it there, thinks better of it. says, I'm happy taking third because I have first place in my class right now. I don't need this position. I'm not going to fight you for it. I believe he lost third place last time out on the last lap. Van der Hoover, it's not been a great last lap showing his car.
Tommy overshot a bit there.
We have to go to lead to Matthias Wishton. Fantastic drive for him. We haven't seen him in the race because we haven't needed
Sebastian?
to. He'll come home in a comfortable first place. But Van der Hoover right now still chasing down the second place overall. Patero did come back on track in front.
It was not able to make up the ground as we saw Tommy go through. Matisse with another victory here on ASR, but the battle for second place still rages on. Sebastian still wanting to take it, but the clock is ticking, and Sebastian's lost a lot of the made-up ground, even after Patero had gone slightly off track. Coming through towards the end there, I don't know how easy or how possible it would be, so Tommy Patero may have earned himself a second place despite the chaotic race. Carlos Baza will take it for the GT3s. In first place there, surviving a chaotic race from the GT3s, and overall, an insane end to an insane day. The battle for second place raged on and on and on for the GTP pros, but just ended up in an interesting way, to say the least. We both seemed to think that Sebastian had that final chance to make that last move on Tommy Patero when Tommy overshot, but it just was not there, Simon.
And to be fair to Van der Hoover, he's not racing for anything in that situation. He still has P1 GTP, which is the race he should care about, but it has to feel bad losing another position on the final lap of the race. Like, that's again, please keep your car on track after the race. I don't know who that was. Just shooting off into the background there, but yeah, fantastic drive for Matthias Wishton. Amazing battles in the midfield for the podium positions.
And big credit too, as well, to the GT3 AM, Samir Rashad, somebody I've seen have very successful races very consistently, and we know how much trouble it was for these GT3s in this race, as the GTPs were coming through very aggressively, but Samir was able to survive it, and very close racing for second and third we saw consistently there as well, so able to survive that prolonged. As we take a look at the race results here, GTP, Matisse, Tommy, Sebastian, that's your podium. Alvaro Gutierrez ended up in fourth place, which is a pretty significant feat, having seen what we saw at the beginning of the race. For Gutierrez to end up in fourth, magnificent. We'll go through up till 10th there. Zafoli in fifth, Cease in sixth, who honestly, I can't figure out. We have to talk about Benjamin Cease further, because ending up in sixth after a very fascinating race there. Seventh place, Robin Duhamel, Ruben Stegman in eighth. Ninth will go to Loins, and 10th will be, I'm going to butcher this name, I'll say Aviner.
P11 will be held by Ricardo Tallinn, and from there... so yeah, Tallinn, and then Elwout, Glamsetter, Runic, Diaz, Oval, Kriem, Ponce, Danswell, and Hugendorn, who ends up 11 laps down after his incident, will be your 20 cars in the GTP field.
Looking then at the GT3s, Carlos Balza will take first place. Adam Watson ending up in second. Argia in third, who had a strong race throughout, but ending up still on the podium. Balin went up in fourth. Aggioni in fifth. Samir Rashad be in sixth. Roberto Kovac will be in seventh. Chalaire, who we saw have some very exciting races throughout this race, will end up in eighth. Gersons in ninth, and Hunt in 10th.
And the remaining field will be Amy Grimm coming home in 11th, Lemeray in 12th, and it's Philippis, Spence, Eunice, Quaranta, Bauta, Keldar, Ott, and Albanese. Last five of those, I believe, retiring in the middle of the race due to various collisions that have unfortunately ended up with a car that just wasn't worth driving.
Well, we have winner interviews now, which is always the fun part of it. We have Matisse with us. Matisse, congratulations. I feel like I've said congratulations to you in interviews very commonly, Matisse, so congratulations yet again. And what was one of the cleaner races for you? I feel like you didn't really have many troubles throughout this race.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it was a really clean race from my side. Less of quali. Quali was really bad. I really don't get the tires in the right temperature window to get the fastest lap in. But P2, great starting position. Get P1 in the first lap as well with a nice battle, so that was nice. And after that, it was just controlling the pace, fuel safe, don't take any big risks regarding overtaking GT3 cars. But yeah, it wasn't really easy out there. The track conditions were really bad. I think there was not a lot of grip, so it was really ice skating. But we managed to take it home.
Certainly so. And Simon, please go ahead. I'm sure you have a million questions.
Honestly, I really don't, because I feel like from your point of view, it's just a case of you're driving off into the sunset, and no one is really there challenging.
Theme music playing in the background.
Yes. Like, how comfortable did it feel, like, knowing you had, like, this, like, building lead over the entirety of the race, I guess?
Yeah, it's just having a lot of confidence in doing what I do best, and that's just driving. Just not taking too much risk. Don't give 110% pace, but just 80% or something like that. And just hoping traffic is going play nice with me as well. And just don't make any mistakes. And if I do that every lap, we got a 29-second lead, which is awesome to do for our Dutch League racing community. So it's just focusing on my own, and don't watch really back. I would say.
Well, if that's your 80%, I'm absolutely terrified as to what your 100 looks like. Congratulations once again, Matthias Wichton, P1 overall and GTP Pro.
Yes, thanks, mate. See you in the next one.
For sure. And now we head over to our friend Carlos, who everybody today feels like they had a war of attrition to survive the chaotic field coming through, but you did it. You ended up at first with the GT3s. How are you feeling?
Hi everyone. Yes, as you said, it was a very difficult race, a lot of traffic. The GTP were together most of the laps, so I tried to manage as I can. Fortunately, I could survive in this tricky track. But yeah, I'm very happy with the result. I didn't feel good with my pace in the whole race because the temperature was increasing. So yeah, good result for the championship, and let's see.
Yeah, very strong results indeed. And Simon, I'll go ahead and hand it to you, because we talked a bit with Montis about the track conditions as well. And from the GT3s, with what you were dealing with the GTPs, I'm sure Simon is interested in how you guys dealt with that.
It's like we saw a lot of incidents towards the end, especially where the curbs ended up killing a lot of traffic. I just want to get your take on like how much you can push on the outside of these tracks limits, because as much as you might want to take the entirety of the curb, it does seem to unsettle the car a lot more. Well, some cars more than others.
Yes, it was very difficult because I tried to I don't know how to say it in English, to keep a good gap, try not any mistake with the off track. As you know, it was too difficult. And yeah, I only try to manage because I had a good gap. And I feel very good with myself. So I'm very happy.
No, it's an excellent performance from Carlos Bozo. Once again, P1 in the GT3 field.
Congratulations, Carlos, and you should feel very proud of it. Great performance again, and thank you. And with that, we head to Samir, who took a victory, and I feel like I've talked to you. I feel like I've talked to all of you guys with a lot of victories so far in my time in ASR. So congratulations, as I've said to everyone. And we talked a lot about track conditions. What was your experience like today?
I think, in the beginning it was decent, and then, as they said, the temperature was rising slightly, but overall, I think I had a good gap in the beginning that I built on Goosens and the other guys. So I was just trying to manage. Since I was not also in the best condition, I got fever as well. So I was just trying to be good without taking any risk. And luckily, lap one, I don't know which guy was with the Porsche that dived on the inside. I don't know if you showed all that on the TV, but I was lucky to be. I survived in the first lap, and then onwards, I think lap after lap, it was just to put small bricks and getting this mark here and there and not making mistake.
Yeah, it's always well done. Especially, it was well done taking advantage of a lot of the side-by-side racing for position that was happening behind you to further your lead.
Yes.
We talked about that
I was-
actually on the broadcast too.
Yeah, I was in a good position with not having other guys fighting with me or not having too many GT3 around, so I was managing the traffic well enough to not lose or gain too much. But overall, then ended up by I think 10-second gap with P2. So I think that was all about GDP, managing better the GDP and not taking too many risks with the track condition in the half pass of the race, because the track was getting more slippery.
And Simon, I'll pass it to you if you have any questions for Samir.
I was just going to ask, so you might be on your own, but you still have to deal with the GTP traffic. How terrifying is that? Because the closing speed of those cars is kind of insane.
Yeah, I think Hockenheim was even worse sometimes because the GTP didn't got the chance to gap each other. They were in a train almost, all of them, except from P1 and P2, I think. And it was sometimes very, very tricky to manage all of them, especially in the kink in turn 5, turn 4. They were literally going on the inside, and I think it was slightly. I got a few contact with a few GTP in the last sector as well. Then the Saxo curve and the entry of the stadium, those two corners were very, very terrifying.
I can imagine. It looked like a very terrifying race to be a spectator of in the car.
Yeah, I think I got lucky as well, but I think just give the insight to the GDP and they know what to do. That's my goal. I will not take any risk or do anything stupid. Just give their line, they will do what they want to do, and I will try to be as safe as possible.
Well, definitely a good route to take, and thank you very much. Samir, congratulations again on your victory in the GT3 AM class, your first place. And Simon, that was quite an experience we had today, but we ended up getting through it overall. So I would love to hear your final thoughts on what was a very exciting day of racing at ASR.
It is absolutely terrifying when you have a bunch of cars that can go so fast, so close to each other. There's barely room for two cars around this track at certain points. And as soon as you get a little bit of a curb, the car just seems to get unsettled in such a terrifying way. It was good racing at points. It was hard racing at points. It was terrifying racing at points. But my God, was it entertaining.
It was. That was the perfect. You hit the nail on the head. It was a perfect description. It was an exciting day, another exciting one of ASR. And with that, that brings us to the end. Thank you, as always, for hanging out and listening. And my name's been Anthony Malum. I was joined by Simon Davison on the broadcast with Paulo Rat doing production, doing it so good as always every time on ASR. Be sure to join us next time for another exciting race. Have a great rest of your day.